Hey everybody, this is Scott from Oven Fresh Sounds coming at you from my kitchen studio in Brooklyn, New York. And today I'm going to talk to you about how I prepare studio recorded drums for mixing. Specifically, we're going to check the polarity and phase of a multi-mic drum kit. So before we get started, if you enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with my latest videos, click subscribe below. Also, I want to thank Eric Passmore for providing these songs we are mixing in this video. Alright, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is take a close look at the raw drum tracks. And we're going to build a rough balance based off the overhead. So we'll be matching the close mics to the level of the close mics in the overhead. First thing we're going to do is split the overhead into two mono tracks, left and right. And so now everything is mono. This is going to be important. Bring the level down on these guys and let's go. That's a quick rough mix of the drum kit, and we're going to take a look at the overheads and check for phase. We're going to zoom in on these two overhead tracks. This here is a snare hit. And you can see that these guys are pretty lined up and hidden at the same time. I'm going to pull back this right mic a little bit. And this just means that the snare was hitting the left mic earlier than it was hitting this one. So we just want to fix that and make it hit at the same time. And now we can take a look at this kick drum, and you can see there's a little difference here. So when they recorded it, the distance from the snare to the overhead mic and the kick to the overhead mic were a little different on both of these guys. So there's a small gap, but this is probably okay because the overhead mics aren't picking up the kick as much as they are the snare. So let's leave it like that. And the first track we're going to line up, we're going to solo the overhead track. We're going to line it up to the kick drum. We'll zoom in here. Alright, so those are looking pretty good. See if we can hear a difference if we flip the phase. A little more low end when the phase is reversed. Let's inverse that phase. Okay, so that one's good. Let's move that guy up, out of the way. And the next thing we'll work on is the snare top. We'll zoom into one of those hits, and as you can probably guess, the close mic is picking up the snare faster than it's picking up in the overhead. So let's slide that guy over to match that. You can see as it resonates through the room, the waveform's a little different than the close mic. You can also tell that the phases are both in phase because they're both going down at the same time. For an example, let's play these on repeat and we'll flip the phase just to see how it affects the sound. Biggest thing that it's affecting is the low end in that sound. So when you invert the phase, it's canceling out a lot of that low end energy. All right, so let's unsolo the overhead and we'll match the snare top with the snare bottom. And as you can tell, these guys are out of phase. In the snare top waveform, it's going down first. In the snare bottom, it's going up. So let's listen to those together and then flip the phase and see if that makes a difference. You can see how much that affects the tone there, and I think that sounds better with the phase flip, so let's keep it like that. Otherwise it's going to sound thin. So we'll move both those guys up, unsolo those, go with the toms. So we'll solo the tom high. We want to find an isolated hit. This is going to make it a lot easier for us to distinguish the waveform. So there's a good peak there to match it up to. You can also check the front. Yeah, maybe move it in a little bit. Alright, those look good. Now let's go to the mid tom. Slide that guy up. That looks good. And now the low tom, let's slide that guy up and take a look at that. These phases are flipped. So let's take a quick listen to that and see how it sounds. So a lot more low-end resonance when you invert the phase to put those in phase. And that's what we want. We want more low-end punch. That sounds good. And last but not least, let's get the hi-hat. Now, usually the high frequencies aren't affected by phase a lot because their waveforms are moving a lot faster. But in this case, this hi-hat's picking up a lot of the snare. So we want to make sure the snare is in phase. So let's find a good spot where we can isolate that snare hit. And there we go, and we'll pull it back. That looks pretty good. There you have it. So now we have this kit is in phase. Let's give it a quick listen, make sure it sounds okay. And notice how the snare disappears when we flip the bottom mic again and flip it back so it's out of phase. Let's hear that again. It's almost like the snare disappears from the drum set. So there you have it. That is phase explained. Let me know if you like this. Leave a comment below this video. Let me know if you're doing anything similar to this. And if you enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with my latest videos, click subscribe below. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you on another video soon.